So we are here with David Dunn, who of course appeared for Rovers 316 times, netting 50 goals. So we're delighted to welcome you, Dunny. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Very welcome. Glad to be on.
Yeah, in these strange, it's funny how normal Zoom is seeming all of a sudden. All these, are you still doing? Do you do Zoom conferences with players from Blackpool?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, we haven't done for a little while, obviously, because of we've give the players 3 weeks off, just because we don't know really what's happening just yet with the when we can be back in or if we're going to be back in. So no point giving them too much work to do and then have another rest, and it's just too up in the air at the minute, you know.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I mean, I think it's regardless of the industry that you're in, it's crazy at the moment.
As it is every industry, though, you know. I think the health's probably, well, it is the main thing. So sport, unfortunately, is just a little part of all our lives. But health's certainly got to be the main thing. Yeah? So probably the right thing what they're doing. You know, we need to get everyone safe, and then everything can hopefully return to normal after that.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So to open things up, I wanted to ask you what your favourite ever goal at Ewood was, and were you onside for it?
Yeah, I think most supporters would probably say the offside goal against Burnley, but I don't know. Maybe I would probably say my favourite goal that you know, looking back, is maybe the one against Aston Villa when Peter Schmeichel was in goal. I cut in off the right and had a shot with my left foot. So that was I probably thought that was the best finish at Ewood, but obviously a lot of people would say the so-called offside goal. It wasn't actually offside, obviously, because it was a goal that stood. So
obviously, yeah. Yeah, it's funny actually. I remember it's probably kind of being a '90s child, but any goal that went in against Schmeichel, whether he was at United or not, was always just felt extra special to me.
Yeah, I mean to beat a goalkeeper of that, you know, that caliber, you know, you always it's always quite special, you know. I'm sure a lot of people thought that when they used to beat Brad Friedel, because he was another special goalkeeper that was very difficult to get past, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of former players, I think Jay has a question in regards to some of the players that you played with.
Okay, so you've been blessed to play with some fantastic players. If you could pick one in particular, who would you say was the best you ever played alongside?
In a Blackburn shirt?
Yeah, I guess we'll go Blackburn, and then maybe pick one for Blackburn and then one for overall. You know.
You know, it's so difficult to pick. I mean, the obvious choice would be, you know, Two-Guy. You know, he was an absolute world beater player. You know, I just wish I'd have seen him a little bit, played with him a little bit earlier on in his career. You know, and again, Two-Guy. You know, it would have been good to see him, you know, at some point test himself at, you know, without being too disrespectful, a bigger club, you know, like a top team, you know. It would have been, you know, good to see him, to see if he, how he would have gelled and how he would have done in one of them, you know, Champions League teams, and see what he would have done there, you know, with a team that predominantly would have had more possession, which you would think would, you know, make him stand out even more, you know, with the more control the teams get. But you know, Damien Duff was another fantastic player for Blackburn as well, you know, and went on to win the Premier League with Chelsea. You know, Matt Jansen. You know, there's many players, and also you know that's forgetting like Andy Coles and Dwight Yorks that have had amazing careers at Man United, but I probably got them at the back end of their career, so they say, you know. So you know, and then obviously I had a really good partnership in the midfield with Gary Flitcroft as well. So you know, I played with some I'm really lucky to have played with some really good top players, you know, and you know, we are very lucky to play in that team at times, you know.
Yeah, truly. How about away from Rovers?
Cool. It's a good question. You know, with the 21s and at England, you probably play with some household names. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make it easier for myself, and I'll go best player I played against.
Okay.
I would say Patrick Vieira.
Mm.
Just because he was so, and obviously he's got a link at New York, so maybe that's why I'm saying it. But no, I think Vieira, he had everything. He had pace, he could pass, he scored goals, he could tackle, he brought play up. He really was like a top player, and every time, you know, I came against him, you know, he was excellent. He was. I thought he was. In terms of me against someone in the middle of the pitch, I always thought he was the best the best challenge. You know.
Do you find when you come up against players that are really kind of world famous everywhere you go, is that something that's intimidating, or is that something that really kind of fires you up for the game?
Yeah, I you know, at the time, you know, even, you know, back, I just mentioned back with the 21s, you know, Xavi, Pirlo's, all these kind of players. You know, when you go on the pitch against them, you're confident in your own ability, and you think you can take them on anyway. So it's kind of not something I've ever been fazed at whoever I've played against. I've never been overawed by any player I've played against, you know. So I think that's, you know, you just got to go out there and you know, probably think you're better than them, really. You know, and I used to go on the pitch every time, and I was super confident, and I thought I could take anyone on. So I never went on the pitch thinking, you know, I'm going to be worried here. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I kind of feel like you kind of exemplified that Rovers spirit, really, of quite often we're kind of the, you know, we got that fighting spirit of the underdog, so to speak, and we're willing to, you know, take it to anyone and everything. So getting back to a player that you mentioned, Guy, I want to put a rumor to bed, either by confirming it or not confirming it, or denying it rather. So I've heard this rumor several times that whilst he was at Rovers, he smoked 35 cigarettes a day.
Well, I don't know if he certainly had the odd cigarette here and there, but I wouldn't like to say it was 35 or 15 or 5. But he, you know, on match days he used to chill out and have a little cigarette before the game. Yeah, and it has been known in the changing rooms at half time as well, in the toilets.
It's just incredible because he had such an engine on him.
But you know what? He was such a likeable, you know, I'm so anti-smoking, but I think Guy was such a likeable bloke as well as a fantastic player that he kind of was probably one person that kind of got away with a lot, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
His ability and how kind of humble he was. I mean, I don't think I've heard anyone say a bad word about him, you know.
No, he's just such a lovable guy somehow. Like and then obviously he was a fantastic player as well, so that helps.
David, in your career, was there a particular manager that stands out to being vital to your career or to your development, or any particular manager that stands out at all?
Well, obviously, I cast my mind back. Obviously, Roy Hodgson was my first manager when I went full time, who gave me my debut. So obviously, that was kind of a special time for me. And it was always good to have a top manager that kind of believed in you to give you that opportunity. But I think it was only when Graham Souness came in that I really felt, you know, like, you know, he made me feel so good, and he made me feel like I was the best player every time I went on the pitch. So, you know, I would probably say Graham was the one that really kicked me on, and although we didn't always see eye to eye, not in a bad kind of way. Maybe me just being a bit young and being a bit cocksure, I suppose. you know, when I look back now, I wish I'd have just got my head down a little bit more and took certain things on board. But it is what it is, you know. But I would say, you know, to answer your question, I would say Graham was the one that really, you know, took me onto a different level, really, yeah.
Yeah, I imagine that he was a great manager to work under.
Yeah, it was good.
So recently I heard Alan Shearer talking about that his goal that he scored in 1995 in that game against Newcastle right before the end of the season was one of the loudest noises he'd ever heard at Ewood. I was wondering if you cast back through your memories, is there any time at Ewood you remember as being particularly loud?
I don't know if I remember it. I do remember one game. It was really early on in the career, but it wasn't at Ewood. It was at the new. It was at the Riverside against Middlesbrough, and we actually remember going on. It was the time when Janino and all them were playing, you know. And I remember coming on at the Riverside and thinking, God, I couldn't hear myself think. I was like, it was really strange, you know. But again, I know we've mentioned it at Ewood. You know, when I scored the equaliser against Burnley was it was such a blur in the end. But you know, watching the footage and seeing it never fails to kind of put a smile on my face, you know, and have a little giggle.
Yeah.
I was actually listening. I was listening to that on Radio Rovers because it wasn't on TV here in the States, and iFollow wasn't around yet. And my connection went out just before that happened, so I was just kind of counting the minutes, assuming that we had lost. And then later, I see on Twitter that you had scored. So.
Yeah, it was. You know, I suppose the other thing for me is, and this is just the way I am, I felt like I never got overly, you know, obviously the supporters and everyone involved in the club were really happy that they could carry the run on. But personally, I was withdrawn with Burnley. Why are we all getting too carried away with with them at the time? You know, I know they've pains us all to say, but you know they've done very well, and you know in Sean Dyche, they've got a good manager there and someone I speak to quite often. You know, hopefully them days will come back and we can get back on top. You know.
Another 30 years.
That leads me to another question that I had. If yourself, Alan Shearer, Simon Garner, and Gamps Pedersen are all walking down the street in Burnley, who's going to get the most abuse?
I would say I'd probably have a good chance. I would probably have a good chance of getting quite a lot of abuse, yeah. But you know what? You know, I come from a little place just outside of Blackburn in Great Harwood that is probably 50-50. So, believe it or not, I've got quite a lot of close friends that are Burnley fans as well. So, over the years, it's been great, certainly when I was playing, because I always had the last laugh. But unfortunately, in the latter years, I've had to keep my mouth shut quite often, you know. Like I said, hopefully Blackburn can get back in the league and in the Premier League, and we can have a few more laughs at them there.
I find it quite interesting, actually. I feel like you were kind of singled out on Rovers Twitter when it comes to Rovers and Burnley. I feel like the Burnley fans, I think not only obviously they're trying to wind you up, I actually think they secretly enjoy corresponding with you. I think that you.
Yeah, you know what? And from my tweets as well, I like to give them a little bit. I like to wind them up. But you know, I've got the Premier League kind of shout in my locker, and they've kind of they come back and say, "Where are you now?" You know, so it's a bit of give and take. And the hardest thing for me is I was actually I've actually never been beat often whilst I've been on the pitch. Because when we got beat in my last game, we was winning when I got subbed, which I felt that changed the game a little bit. I felt if I'd stayed on the pitch, I think we would have won. Just because I felt like I don't know, just a little bit not scared of me, but they felt I could hurt them, and I felt that they were always putting a couple of players around me to try and keep me quiet. And I think, you know, when Gary Boyd took me off, I think that was a turning point for them. I think it gave them a real lift to take the local lad off that's had so much success over the years against them. I felt that you know, it gave them a really big lift to go on and get them next goals. And as soon as the first goal went in, I thought, dear me, here we go.
Yeah,
it's what it is.
I do actually remember you going off and kind of having that, I'm not sure this is the right call kind of feeling about it. So
Definitely wasn't. As a lot of decisions in them that last couple of years that I had,
Yeah, no, it's true. So I wanted to ask you about your time at Birmingham, or more specifically, the decision to leave Rovers, and if it was something that hurt to leave. And I read in the media at the time there was a number of clubs that were interested in you. What was the decision behind going to Birmingham, and what led up to it?
Where should I start? You know, I think we played Tottenham at White Hart Lane, and I was sub. And I think I just got a little bit frustrated. You know, probably a little bit rash. And at the time, my agent he looked after Steve Bruce. He was Steve Bruce's agent. So it happened quite quickly, really. They were an up-and-coming team that, you know, with the Gold and the Gold brothers and David Sullivan involved, and Karen Brady, obviously. You know, they were spending a few quid. And it kind of engineered, really, I feel. Having said that, was it a good move? I don't know. It obviously wasn't in hindsight, because I had an injury nightmare, you know, and you know, it wasn't great for me career-wise. But, you know, off the pitch, it grew me up a lot. I needed to start becoming more mature and looking after myself, rather than getting everything done for me around here with my grandma and stuff. So in some aspects it did me really well, and then in others not so well. But that's kind of how it happened. You know, I had other clubs, and I was given a bit of an ultimatum off Birmingham. I was actually going to the States, and they said, you need to sign before you go, otherwise the deal's off. And I kind of, looking back, I should have just said, right, well, if you want me, then I'll make my decision in time. But I kind of was pushed and rushed into it, really, and I ended up signing. I had I think Everton, Chelsea, who else was there? Everton, Chelsea, Middlesbrough at the time. So I probably should have waited and maybe gone to Chelsea, but.
Did you score in your debut for Birmingham?
I missed. I think I missed a penalty. I think I missed a penalty against Tottenham. In the opening game, and then put the rebound in. So I think it was that anyway. I think we played Tottenham.
Yeah, so I have just this memory of you going to Birmingham and scoring on your debut. So
you know what? I started the season really well. The first, 3 or 4 months, very close to getting in the England squad, and then I got injured just before Christmas, I think, which was a bit of a downer. But, my first 6 months, I felt really good, and then didn't go too well after that. That was the start of an horrendous time with my hamstrings. And looking back now, did I do everything in terms of rehab best I could? I don't know. Maybe I took shortcuts at times to get back quicker. And then obviously I had my spine fusion, which put me out for almost a year, So it is what it is. And then, coming back to Blackburn, I played 60 games at Birmingham in 3.5 seasons. And then I think I played maybe 20 games for Blackburn from January to the end of the season. So it just shows, I was comfortable in this setting, and I wasn't travelling. I had a little girl at the time that lived up here, and I was travelling back and forth up the M6. So did driving do me any good? Sat in a car for 3 hours every, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? But certainly, I'm sure it didn't do me any favours,
Yeah, I remember the day of you coming back to Rovers and everything, and I'm pretty sure, I'm trying to think how old I was at the time. I remember getting Dunn on the back of my shirt and everything, so it was an exciting time. It just felt like it was like kind of like a hero's return, right? So it was. It was.
I think the Sheffield United, the first game I came back.
Sounds about right.
I think it was Sheffield United, and I'm almost positive I got a free kick, and I think Morton scored from it. So kind of take the assist, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Get the assist.
Going back to some brighter moments in your career, if you could only keep one memory, and it had to be either of these two from your career, would it be gaining promotion at Deepdale in 2001 or the Worthington Cup win in 2002?
Oh, good question. I think you was going to say them too. What would I say? I think to win a major trophy is a really big honour, really. League Cup, FA Cup, whatever it is, the league. I feel that's a really big achievement. Probably my biggest achievement, as a player. My only achievement, really, in terms of major trophies. But but having said all that, I would have to say the promotion. I think
really?
To score 18 goals that season, play a really big part in it, and get it back into the Premier League. Although the Worthington Cup was great and we went on a good run to it and won the final. I think the final was the first ever final indoors because the roof was on in Cardiff. But over the course of them 40 games or whatever it was then, I felt that was a really big achievement because you had to do it consistently all season. So I think I'd probably have to say the promotion was the most fulfilling, should I say.
Okay.
So jumping forward to current day, are there any members of the current Rovers squad that you wish you would have had the opportunity to play with?
I think Blackburn have got some really, really good young players now. I still think they're, without being too harsh, I still think they're probably 3, 4, 5 players off really getting in them playoffs. Although they could have got in the playoffs this season, with the run they were on, possibly, and they picked up. They were doing well, But I really like Darragh Lenihan. I think Darragh's a really good player. I think that the team misses him when he doesn't play.
Oh, of course.
I think Lewis Travis, obviously coaching him myself. I think Trav's a really good, solid pro that I think will if Blackburn don't go up, I can see Trav, going on and going somewhere and possibly getting in the Premier League. And obviously, that Bradley Dack, who's been, I feel, excellent over the past couple of seasons, and he always pops up, and he's kind of the talisman now, just a shame coincidentally, Blackburn kind of, the run of form they went on was when Dacky got injured, but nevertheless, that doesn't take anything away from Dacky. I think he's the main player, really. I think he's the player that makes things happen for them. But again, I think Adam Armstrong has done very well. He's looked a real threat.
Especially since Dak went down.
Yeah, I think so. But that's not to say that he wouldn't have come up trumps, if Dacky would have been playing. I think Dacky's probably the one player that has stood out over the last couple of years. Certainly for me, for the position I played in an attacking midfielder, I would say Dacky. He's the one that probably excites me more. Not that that's all football is about, but I would say I enjoy watching Dacky. But they were a good group, They were a good group, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple out there, but hopefully they can have a good run if the season carries on, and they can keep the form going, and hopefully nudge away and get in them playoffs and scrape away, scrape in there.
So speaking of that, how do you think, in your opinion, and there's no wrong answers here, but how should the current season be resolved? How do we go forward?
Do you know what? Too tough a answer for me to comment, but what would I say? What would I say? I hope that they can finish the season, if at all possible. I think it would be right. What do I think's going to happen? I've got a feeling the Premier League will be able to finish at some point, but I think the rest of the leagues might not. I've got a feeling that they might not finish. And that's just down to finances, really.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that, like the Bundesliga and the top leagues around Europe can probably finance the testing and the right protocols and procedures to be in place, so they give them the best chance of being safe. And let's be honest, that's what it's about. It's about, these footballers, although they're in the public eye and like a lot of sports people, but they've got families, they've got children, got their own wives and families that they've got to look after and make sure they're safe as well. And that's the main thing. And also, what people, they think that, I feel like at times footballers are just thrown out. Get on with it. You just got to get out on the pitch. But people forget the anxiety that footballers might have going out playing football. Because let's be honest, it's a physical game. There'll be cuts. There'll be sweat. I don't know. There'll a lot of physical. A lot of touching. So there will be certain players that are quite anxious about going back to playing football. And if they're anxious, is it the right thing? I don't know. It's very difficult to know which way. But I think it would be very unfair to relegate teams, even though they might be way, like for instance Bolton in League One, even though they're way below. I still think it would be very difficult to demote people. But I think if you're going to promote, and do a points per game or some kind of ratio, if they feel that that's the right thing. But I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what the best thing would be.
Are you planning on or looking forward to watching any Bundesliga?
I am. I'm supporting Fortuna Dusseldorf because my friend's the assistant there. So
Wow.
And Juve's gone in. Juve Rosler's the manager. Rob Kelly's gone in there as assistant. So I'm going to be following Fortuna. In fact, I've just been on a group chat with a lot of my friends, and we're all picking our German team that we're going to support during this lockdown. Yeah.
Nice. So if we were to take a crystal ball right now and look long into the future, is there any possibility that we see David Dunn as Rovers manager one day?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm at the very start of my own kind of coaching. You know, I had a really tough time at Oldham. You know, in almost impossible circumstances and really tough circumstances. Yeah. So and then obviously the 23s give me grounding. Really enjoyed working with Damien, who's obviously a good friend as well. Then I moved up to the first team with Tony. I really enjoyed that. And now I'm back in at Blackpool, you know. So I'm enjoying the short time I've been in there. And I enjoyed the caretaker role the other month. So who knows? I think I would like to at some point be back involved at the club, possibly. Whether that's in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know. In whatever role it is. It might even be as scout, I don't know. But I have a really big affinity with the club, and it's always got a special place for me. So maybe in the future, who knows? You never know. But at the minute, you know, I'm enjoying my time at Blackpool down the road, and you know, the owner's got big plans, so who knows what'll happen in the future.
That's great. Well, you've got a lot of time, Dunny. Yeah. So I just want to finish things with a couple of questions from Twitter, if that's okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. They're all from Burnley fans, just so you're aware.
Yeah. they're posing as Accrington Stanley fans.
Yeah,
exactly. So this one is from Russell at Barman Russell on Twitter. He said, "How did David find Belfast when he was here doing his badges? Did he get up to any mischief or get to see any of Northern Ireland?"
You know what? I have fond memories in Belfast. I go to Belfast every summer, every 2 years, if not every summer. I did all my badges there. I was there last year, and I went to the Milk Cup to watch the under-16s and the it was actually under-17s and under-15s games. I was over in Derry. I've got friends in Derry, which I go and visit. You know, I really like it. In terms of mischief, there was a few bars I went in. So we enjoyed ourselves. It's as you can imagine, a group of 10, 15, 20 lads all together. It's a good time. A lot of late nights and a lot of long days, but it's a good place. Really good people. So it's a place I enjoy going to Belfast. Good place.
Excellent. So we actually had a number of questions regarding the best player you've ever played with at Rovers, which obviously you already answered for us. So I'd just like to finish on this question from Martin MJ, who is at MartinMJ22 on Twitter. He said, Dunny was magical in our 2-0 win against Charlton in the FA Cup, a game I was lucky enough to be at live. But then he couldn't get a game afterwards. Was anything said to him about why he wasn't playing? Why does he think he didn't play, even though he showed he could still boss games?
Yeah, do you know what? I came off that game. I came off in the second half, having felt really, really good. The manager said to me at the time, Gary, just said, look, I'm bringing you off because I want you to be ready for next week. So I thought, I've done enough to get, bearing in mind the team weren't on a great run. We weren't winning a lot of games. And then I didn't play, I think, for 6 weeks. So I'm not sure. Without me being too critical on anyone, I've just mentioned I was doing my badges. You know, I wouldn't, you know, I probably am a little bit outspoken in turn because I love the club and I want the club to do well. So whatever I could do to help, I used to say if managers and coaches asked me as a player what I thought, you know, I weren't one for beating around the bush. I would say what I thought because I wanted the team to win. Let's be honest, I felt that season was probably very frustrating for me because I felt that was a really, really good chance of getting promotion back to the Premier League, and that's what we all wanted. No one more so than me. But I was 35, 36, and I've got a feeling there was a little bit of me thought I was maybe a little threat. So rather than my feelings are, rather than me, if I played games like I did against Charlton, which I played well, the more of them games I had over the season, the fans would then say, "Oh, Dunny deserves another year. He's playing well." But rather than having to give me another season, I felt that they starved me from playing. So then at the end of the season, they could just say, "He's not played any games. We've got to let him go." And I'm more or less certain that that's, you know, from speaking to people after, I feel that that's what happened.
Yeah, it certainly makes sense.
Which, you know what, is really sad because I played the last game at Ipswich, and again, you know, the Ipswich players were coming to me saying, "How have you not been playing?" I mean, it's great to hear at times, but I felt such a disappointment, and it's like actually failed. I felt we failed as a team that year because we should have done better. I mean, you go through the team, you know, Grant, Rhodsy, Stead, myself, Kearney, Corey, Lowy. You know, we had some good players that should have got out of that league, you know. But I feel that's rather than play me, so they had to give me another year. I think that starved me, so then I'm easily forgotten then. So
yeah, it's sad that it went that way.
It's easy to justify then, because the easier answer is, well, he's not really played, he's not fit. I was actually fit. If you look, I was on the bench most of the time. But the other hard thing that season was not getting on the pitch, even as a sub. You know, I understand that 35, 36, you're getting older, and I couldn't, or possibly couldn't have started every game. But what I definitely did when I came on the pitch, whether I was 20 years old or 35 years old, I definitely, when I came on, made an impact in games, just because of the way I played. And I felt at Ewood when I came on, I felt that everyone got a little lift as well. I think the crowd got a little bit more vibrant and got behind us. So I felt that I weren't even getting on the pitch to make a difference. You know, even when it's crying out for us. And, you know, there was times when I was on the bench and I was almost nearly crying with, like, anger, really, because I knew that I could make an impact and I wasn't being allowed to do it.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how frustrating that must have been.
It was so, honestly, it was so frustrated. I can't even tell you how frustrated I was at times during that season. And I just feel so sorry, because I feel that if I'd have played another 10, 15 games that year, I honestly think we'd have picked up more points, and I think we would have been up there.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that.
But hey, it's in the past now, and it's something that, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Dunny, just before you go, I think Jay was hoping you could authenticate something from him.
Is this the shirt? Is this the shirt that you got in the pre-season game?
Yes, exactly.
Good question. I have no idea.
It doesn't matter if you don't have an idea. Just say you wore
it. What size is it?
It looks like XL.
No, definitely not mine. I wore medium. If it's XL, it's got a chance. No, the shirt side, I'm only kidding. Usually that would be, the XLs would be one size fits all pre-season. So there's a good chance I would have worn that, yeah. If it's number 8 and it was pre-season, I would imagine it would be.
Yeah, it's got to be pre-season because they didn't.
What pre-season was that?
It was. It would have been Paul Ince. Paul Ince.
Which was the game?
I think it was against. I keep wanting to say it was either Macclesfield or Peterborough. One of those.
I don't know.
That's
not
fine.
sure. But I'll tell you what. Yes, I did wear it.
There you go.
I did wear it.
Guaranteed authentic.
Match worn.
All right, Dunny. Well, we'll let you go. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Anytime. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. All the best to Blackpool and with everything else.
Great stuff. Cheers, Dan.
Thanks,
Cheers.
Dunny.
Thanks, David.
Bye-bye.
Bye.